The neighborhood looked peaceful from the outside, with identical lawns, clean sidewalks, and houses arranged in perfect rows. But beneath that surface, the HOA moved through every home's life like a silent current. Rules came printed on thick paper, meetings dragged late into the night, and one person always seemed to be at the center of the tension. Her name was Karen. She treated the HOA board like her throne. Her clipboard traveled with her as faithfully as her shadow. She inspected yards, measured fence heights, and kept a running list of everything she believed violated the standards she invented in her head. While most neighbors ignored her, she thrived on the idea that her opinions shaped the entire community. Across the street from her lived someone who preferred staying out of the HOA drama. The home wasn't flashy, but it was carefully kept. A plain driveway, a trimmed yard, and a garage that usually stayed closed. The homeowner had planned a personal project for months, a small workshop space inside the garage, meant for woodworking and repairs. It wasn't loud, it wasn't messy, and it stayed entirely out of public view. The project started quietly. Supplies arrived through standard deliveries, boxes moving from the front step into the garage with no fanfare. The interior work created no noise that drifted to the street. It was a personal space, an organized plan carried out privately. Karen noticed anyway. She watched from her driveway as each delivery truck pulled up, studying the boxes, stepping closer whenever she could. She hated anything happening in the neighborhood that she wasn't controlling. She convinced herself the workshop was a commercial enterprise, something dangerous or disruptive. The truth didn't matter to her. She only needed a reason to intervene. Her complaints began that same week. She sent emails to the HOA board describing unauthorized construction. She scribbled notes insisting the homeowner was violating codes she claimed were part of the community guidelines. Most of those rules didn't exist anywhere but in her imagination. But that never stopped her. Her frustration grew when the HOA didn't react fast enough for her standards. She escalated. She went to the driveway, stood as close as she could without stepping on the property, and watched. She believed her stare alone would reveal something. She convinced herself she heard illegal machinery. She treated the garage door like a secret hiding place she needed to expose. Her obsession deepened until she appeared at the next HOA meeting with a stack of papers she printed herself. She stood before the board with the confidence of someone expecting applause. But instead of hearing complaints about noise or mess, the board listened to concerns based entirely on speculation. Still, Karen didn't back down. When the HOA suggested she allow them to investigate before taking action, she decided to handle it herself. She walked to the homeowner's door the next morning with her clipboard, convinced she could enforce the rules she imagined. But the door didn't open, and the garage remained closed. She left unsatisfied, and her frustration turned to anger. That afternoon, she filed an official HOA violation notice. It accused the homeowner of running a business out of their garage. She wrote that the property was being used improperly, that construction was unauthorized, and that the neighborhood was at risk. She demanded immediate shutdown of the project. The homeowner received the notice hours later, confused but calm. Instead of reacting with frustration, they gathered their documents. The project was fully allowed, compliant, and supported by local regulations. They collected permits, HOA guidelines, and correspondence with the city confirming the legality of the work. Every paper contradicted Karen's accusations. The HOA scheduled a hearing. Karen arrived early, armed with her clipboard again, looking pleased with the attention she expected. The homeowner arrived with a folder of documents and a steady, patient presence. The hearing began, and the board listened as Karen recited her assumptions with certainty. She claimed the project was disruptive, unsafe, damaging to property values, and a violation of everything she believed the neighborhood should stand for. Then, the homeowner took the floor. Their explanation was factual, supported by each document laid on the table. The project was personal, not commercial. The permits were valid. The noise levels were below any threshold. The HOA guidelines allowed interior workshops without restrictions. Everything Karen accused them of fell apart one point at a time. Karen's confidence collapsed in front of the board. Her imagined rules had no weight. Her claims had no evidence. Her frustration became visible, but she still tried to salvage control by insisting something must be wrong. The board didn't agree. The ruling was simple. The project could continue, and Karen was issued a written warning for filing a false complaint. They hoped it would end there. It didn't. Karen doubled down, sending more notices, more emails, and more attempts to stop the project. She believed she could overwhelm the board into giving her what she wanted. Instead, she backed herself into a corner. The homeowner, tired of the interference, contacted an attorney who specialized in HOA disputes. They compiled every false notice, every baseless claim, every attempt Karen made to interfere with a legal project. The attorney built a clear case of harassment and misuse of HOA authority. The formal letter arrived at Karen's home one morning. It explained the legal action being taken against her. It listed the consequences of continued interference. It outlined the damages she could be responsible for if she didn't stop. Her fear replaced her bravado. The clipboard disappeared. The late-night emails stopped, and the HOA board received a sudden apology, thin and forced. The neighborhood grew quieter. The workshop continued without interruption, completed soon after. The tools were organized, the benches installed, and the space became what it was meant to be from the beginning, a private hobby area. Karen walked past the house with her head lowered now, no clipboard in sight. She lost the authority she convinced herself she had. Neighbors felt a shift in the street's atmosphere, lighter without her imposing presence. The homeowner finished the workshop and stepped into it with a calm sense of accomplishment. Not only had the project succeeded, but the legal boundaries had been set clearly. Karen no longer had control, and the HOA finally maintained the order it claimed to uphold. And if you enjoyed this story, remember to like, subscribe, and hit that button to give this video the boost it deserves. Tell me which country you're watching from, and stay tuned for more stories.